And also, I think it's important to mention that a lot of women, if we are talking about sexuality, don't necessarily have very healthy relationships with their sexualities,
Yes.
because a lot of us come from very different backgrounds. And I mean, it has something to do with our cultural conditioning, our conditioning when it comes to religious conditioning, just the way our upbringing, cultural upbringing. So it a lot has to do with the way we perceive pleasure. So a lot of us, even grow up thinking that, what, I don't have a kind of a right to have pleasure in my life. A lot of women grow up with this idea that they have to sacrifice themselves to a man or to somebody else and put everybody else first. But that's not what it's about. And I mean, of course, it is important to love your children, to love your partners, to love our parents, love our elderly and family members in our community. That's very important.
Yeah, and to be a functioning member of your community and
Absolutely.
whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely, but there is something else. There is another person, which is you. And once you actually are able to reconnect with all those things, including your sexual pleasure, you're going to be a better partner, you're going to be a better parent, you're going to be a better and kind of more valuable member of your community.
Yeah, you can better serve your community when you got your own shit together, right? You're no good to anyone.
Absolutely.
when you just don't have your stuff sorted out like that. All your mental health stuff and self-care stuff and wellness stuff sorted out.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's the best thing you can do for your family and for your partners and for everyone you encounter.
Absolutely.
Is work on yourself.
And if your partner, that's not what your partner wants, then there's probably some sort of a codependent relationship. And you know what? That's not necessarily a healthy relationship. Right? Because if your partner doesn't want you to be happy and healthy and well on your own,
dump the motherfucker already. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really might be just as simple as that. Yeah. And that might be the only solution, because usually people like that, they just tend to suck life out of us.
Yes.
So, and we don't need that. And we need to change our perfume and move on.
Change your perfume and throw out your sex toys and
Yes. But also, there's
burn
something...
that lingerie.
Listen, do what it takes, but move on and get yourself together, get yourself happy, and get yourself happy on your own. Because before anything else, I think that the sensual goddess needs to really understand her self-worth, needs to understand what gives her pleasure before searching for pleasure anywhere else.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing that women have, and I'm sure a lot of people, regardless of gender, have. Like, when you get out of a long-term relationship, a lot of people have that instinct to be like, hey, I need to be single for a while. Like, I need to reconnect. Exactly all the things you're saying. Like, I need to concentrate on myself for a while. I think almost everyone at some point in their lives has said that, before you jump into the next relationship.
Right. Or I'm sure there are also a lot of people who said, who absolutely cannot stand being alone, even for a month.
Yes.
Right. And they will say, okay, because that's what they need to do. They need to mask, their discontent and their unhappiness and their hurt and their pain with, another pleasure.
With distract. Yeah.
Exactly. Which actually doesn't do you any good. And I think that part of living a sensual life is feeling all of your emotions in a very kind of open and intense way. So bad emotions are also good emotions. And that's going to probably lead us into our kind of next subject that we will want to talk about, which is a tantric lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all a part of it. It's about being present. It's about really experiencing everything and being honest. And I think that the sensual kind of goddess, the sensual woman, really, really is able to get in touch with all of those emotions and work her stuff out before moving on to anything else. So, and also I do want to mention things like masturbation, like touching, like, really being able to understand what gives you pleasure. Because if you're asking me, we will never, ever, there are some people who are going to say, well, you know what, let's say when my partner and I, we've been married for 20 years, and we kind of learned together how to experience that pleasure. That's great. That's
great.
lovely.
But also masturbate. Also explore on your own.
But still, you gotta explore and understand what gives you pleasure, because it can also be a very educational experience for you as a couple. Extremely,
It's only knowing
important.
yourself and your own pleasure, like masturbation type stuff, self-love type stuff. It's only going to amplify the sex life you have with a partner.
Yes.
Right? Like it's in no way it's going to detract from that if you have a really healthy like masturbation routine or
Yes.
yeah.
And also, it allows you to kind of look back into what makes you happy, what gives you pleasure, right? I think that part of being kind of a sensual goddess is about really kind of turning all the distractions off. It's not about going for a manicure or pedicure. Like a friend of mine says, it's not about going shopping. It's about really kind of tuning into yourself and what makes you happy. So ask yourself, even when it comes to kind of bodily pleasure and touching and things, what is it that your body craves? Do you want that tender loving and care and kind of sex on the beach type of a fantasy, right? Or do you want some consensual aggression? Do you want someone to take control? Do you want to control? What is it that floats your boat at this time? Because our sexuality as well as our sensuality, they're fluid. They are never the same. It's like a ever-changing metamorphosis of who we are. We want different things. I wanted different things when I was 20, and now that I'm 25.
30 already.
I want completely different things, right?
Yeah. And from one day to the next as well.
Yes.
What I wanted yesterday isn't necessarily what I'm going to want today.
Yes.
And that's healthy and good.
Yes. And I mean, a lot of it depends on our cycle as a woman, right? Our body cycles and our moods. And it's true. Listen, women are constantly changing. It's like the moon phases.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It
We're the
changes from
motherfucking moon. Yeah.
right? We are as weird, and also we are as magical,
Yes. And colorful and like all those positive
mystical,
words.
and all
Yes.
of those things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we have to respect all of those things. We have to respect ourselves, our wishes, our desires. And I think that when we do that for ourselves, the rest of the world looks at us completely differently. They're saying,
People notice.
yes, this woman is worthy of respect. This woman is magical. She's, just so seductive, and she's so sensual and alluring and all of those things. And the world sees us completely differently.
Yeah. And all of us are worthy of respect, no matter where we're at. But I think I think you're only going to amplify that by doing all this kind of self work. You're only going to amplify your worth. And by that I mean knowing that you have worth. Really feeling and living your every day like you have worth, because we all do.
Absolutely.
And we all just need to get in touch with that. And then the rest will fall together. Like it's that easy. It's not, obviously, to see that you have, to really feel that you have worth. I think a lot of people struggle with that. And a lot of women, just with all the, the female conditioning and the script that we're told that we don't,
Yes. And also,
which is why all of this is so important.
Yes, and also as we go through different stages of life, right?
Yeah.
I think our perspective changes, and we always have to make sure that, regardless if you're just newly single or newly married, or you become a mom, or you become a grandmother, or you become really through all the stages of life, it's important to check back in and say and kind of reconnect with your self-worth, and because listen, life is very generous when it comes to this type of stuff. It knocks you at every stage of life, and everyone gets their fair share. No one has it perfect. So and sometimes it really, like we said, affects our quality of life and our self-worth and how we see ourselves. So it's really, really important that we kind of
put in the work
and make sure that we stay connected to that self-worth and what gives us pleasure and what makes us happy.
Yes, love that. Well, Manuel, we are at time, so we
Oh,
didn't
wow.
even hit our last topic. But you know what? That's just going to give me an excuse to have you back.
I would love to come back. Are you kidding me? Yes.
That's fantastic. So, Manuela, are you able to tell listeners and viewers exactly where we can find you, if you have anything coming up that you want people to follow you on, all your social media type stuff?
Well, always like people to follow me because, I always like to think that I'm always, kind of producing something.
Yes, yes.
So
You have a lot. You do a lot.
I do quite a bit of things. So I actually will be doing a video for Oasis Aqua Lounge very soon. So we will, have that.
Yep.
And then I actually have a new book coming out very
Yes.
soon. So it's
And I have a copy of your first one here.
Oh, yes, my baby.
I got this lovely gem that Manuela brought over to me, the Stopover. So this is where can people find this?
So people can buy it on Amazon. It's also available in select bookstores all over Canada and the United States.
Lovely. And so you're doing another one. Fantastic.
And yes,
Great.
there's a brand new one coming out, actually on a very similar subject that we're kind of exploring today. And
Great.
I think that the best way to get in touch with me is either on Facebook or Instagram at Emanuela_daily_sensuality.
Great.
For everything that you need to know when it comes to sensuality, pleasure, and a happy lifestyle.
Oh, yes. And let me think of all the things I have to say. Okay, so if you're watching us on YouTube, it would be so helpful if you could subscribe. It just helps us with all our business stuff. And when I say our, I mean mine. It's just me. I'm the sole producer, proprietor of Bedpost. So it just goes leagues on the business side of things. If you're listening to us on iTunes, and again, when I say us, I mean me. That would be great if you could rate and review. That's also super helpful. If you're in Toronto and you want to see the Bedpost stage show, we are at the Social Capital Theatre the third Friday of every month at 8, or the last Tuesday of every month at the Super Wonder Gallery at 9. If you are listening to just the audio podcast, you're going to hear original music by Stephanie Copeland. You can check out all her stuff at StephCopelandmusic.com. I want to give a huge shout out to the Sonar Network, which is the podcast network that I'm on. Lots of other fantastic podcasts that you can go and check out on Sonar. Also, Eggplant Media is responsible for all of our new YouTube content. And we want to thank everyone, as usual, here at the Pacific Junction Hotel. And I want to give another great thank you to Emanuela Fernandes. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with me today.
I'm so happy I was able to do it. It's a privilege. Thank you so much.
We'll
Erin.
have to have you back.
Thank you.
And bye, everyone. Thanks so much for listening and watching.